It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, setting sail aboard the SS Rapapa. It is Topic Thunder. And I was, folks, Ben and I were just discussing eye stuff.
Yes.
The pre-show meeting was largely silent except for eye stuff. So I wanted to gross you out in case you get the heebie-jeebies about eye stuff. But yeah, hey, welcome to the show, everybody. We're
be clear about something. Nothing touches my eyeball. Nothing. Not an eye drop. Nothing. Not a contact lens. Nothing touches.
Grow up. Just grow up. Get some saline. Wash it out. You'll feel much better, and you'll level up in your adulthood.
No, I'm not doing it. Sorry. I'm 42 years old. And I'm almost 42 years old. Nothing touches my eyeball.
All right. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is Topic Thunder, of course, as you well know, home to the world's most dangerous chat zone. We call that the Thunderdome. And Ben, oh yeah, right on. Right.
What you didn't see is that this hand almost raised to the level of the screen, and I caught it like right here and went, yeah, I am being a huge baby, 100%.
Well, we mix the personal with the non-personal, with the pleasure and the business, and that's Topic Thunder in a weird kind of nutshell, I guess. So, folks, thanks for joining aboard here. Whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, we welcome all of those streaming services, and hopefully, maybe sometimes we're Mr. Hansen in the house for another Monday Night Thunder. We got a lot to talk about, and I don't think a whole lot is super pressing. So I just kind of put together what I think is a fun show. We want to have a fun show. We can't have a fun show until we have ourselves a drink, ladies and gentlemen. And just as we were going on air, the 3-2, the 1 on the 3-2-1 was hitting, and the lovely and talented Gigi brought in this delightful looking cocktail, which I already know is tequila based because we bought a new tequila in the household. What I can also tell you, it looks like that is I can confirm that it certainly looks like an orange.
That does look like an orange.
Orange, you're glad I checked. And then probably some tahini on the rim right there. So we're going to and I think
lemonade. Is that like a lemonade? I wonder.
I honestly, I think she was in the kitchen, muddling something, like just grinding something. I don't know. I told her I wasn't looking, but I saw something, but I told her I wasn't. And then I just saw a little thing, and don't get sloppy on my rim next time, please. Jesus Christ, act like you love me. Holy smokes.
There it is, folks.
Rapapa indeed. We're going to give this a shot here again from Gigi's Drink Lab, ladies and gentlemen. Here,
it looks tasty.
That's like a take on a margarita. Ooh. Oh yeah, there's something going on there. There's a little heat. There's some heat. Not as bad as the. Maybe I don't know.
Coming at you.
It's a little bit. I'm starting to get a little red here, and feeling it, but definitely okay. I forgot something. The tequila's infused with something, so I forget what it was. It's when we tried it straight, because you just got to take it for a test drive by itself, right? You got to sip on it.
Sure.
Very sweet, and it was like something that I wouldn't like. Hey, Brooks, you want to do a shot of this?
Valencia oranges is what it's.
A Valencia oranges. So it was a little too sweet for me, like straight. Mixed, however. Holy shit. There's some definite lime juice in there. It looks almost like there's like okay, so there's either parts of lime in there or there's green floaty things. Oh, that might be jalapeno.
There's the heat.
Yeah.
Heat, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep, that could be some jalapeno in there too. Maybe she, I don't know. I like this drink a lot, and if we have to give it Brooks Bolts, we have to do the Brooks Bolts.
Well, we do, yeah, and it is
of course.
jalapeno.
This is really good. I wish I
Muddled
could.
with an orange, jalapeno muddled with an orange. So there you go.
All right, that's see, that's the hallowed ground of a 3.5. I would sell that. I'm not kidding, folks. I would sell this drink, and you would like it, and you would buy more, and you'd be happy. Which brings us to the very creatively titled headlines segment, ladies and gentlemen. You know what we do? We talk about the headlines. Some of these headlines are up in front of your faces, and some of them you got to kind of flip the newspaper a couple pages back. Remember those newspapers? You got to flip those pages back a little bit to cover some of these stories. And this show kind of today, I think largely is going to cover some of that stuff. And here we go. We're going to start right off. This could be the Brooks Ellie moment here.
It is. I'm ready for it.
Legitimately be that. As ladies and gentlemen, a chess playing robot has broken a young boy's finger during a chess match in Moscow, of all places.
Here we fucking go, Brooks.
Here we go. A chess playing robot fractured the finger of a 7-year-old opponent during a tournament in Moscow last week. The incident happened after the boy hurried the artificial intelligence-powered robot. Now, this is coming from a gentleman named Sergei Lazarev, who's the president of the Moscow Chess Federation, as he told the Russian state news agency TASS.
This is one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard.
The robot broke the child's finger. This, of course, is bad. you can't Russian that up any more than that. Right?
No, you can't. You honestly, you read it, even if you didn't do the Russian accent, I would have read it with that Russian accent because of the way even it's typed. You know that a man with a Russian accent said it. You know.
And it was handed to this man in from a telegraph, right? Strip, directly from the desk, if not from the desk of, but the second desk next to Vladimir Putin over in the Kremlin. This is straight, maybe it's something that's lost in translation here, but it certainly seems like they're just kind of very matter of facting this whole thing here.
There is video of this, and we have video. We have the video available.
We have video.
Don't hurry the robot.
For real, right? I guess it held the kid's finger for 15 seconds before they were able to kind of like nobody's thinking to just find the power switch.
If he dies,
pull that cord. Let's fight a hydraulic robot that just broke a human bone.
Chat room is on fire already. In Russia, robot breaks you.
Goddamn right it does. This is it. This is it. This is the start. And of course, it starts in Russia, right? The whole robot takeover. And of course, it happens over something innocuous like chess. Would you like to play a game?
Right.
It's awful. This is terrible. And this is just the first story, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep going, shall we?
Ryan has Russian robots that throw people out of windows after stabbing them and breaking their fingers.
In that order, too. And the robot's name, now we're officially calling that robot Drago.
Drago, yes.
Drago, I must break your finger. Hey, so all right, let's continue to ask the question. This just could be the show name, ladies and gentlemen. What fucking year is it really? This is from Reuters. Hyundai subsidiary has used child labor at an Alabama factory. Yes, that's Alabama. In the United States of America. That Alabama, right? Listen to this. Alabama, July 22nd. A subsidiary of Hyundai Motors Company has used child labor at a plant that supplies parts for the Korean car maker's assembly line nearby Montgomery, Alabama, according to area police. The family of 3 underage workers and 8 former and current employees of the factory. underage workers, in some cases as young as 12,
Jesus.
have recently worked at the metal stamping plant operated by Smart Alabama LLC, these people said. Smart, listed by Hyundai and corporate filings as a majority-owned unit, supplies parts for some of its most popular cars and SUVs built by the automaker in Montgomery, its flagship U.S. assembly plant. 12.
They need those little hands to get into those small.
That is all right. Okay, we could, I don't want to take that any further because I just want to leave it like that because for some reason I feel like now the FCC it has no jurisdiction here, but for some reason I feel like Howard Stern having to watch what he says now. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. That was cool, right? That was cool up until somebody said, "Wait, how old is Timmy?"
Yeah, 12.
12. He's had 5 haircuts in his life. And he's working
at auto parts manufacturing,
right, a metal stamping plant, like hydraulics and dangerous equipment that, like, not only, I mean, you can seriously hurt, mangle, and kill a man. A kid would stand no chance and has no idea, like, working.
And listen, ultimately, this is another reason. This is another example of left to their own devices, without labor unions, without government intervention and restrictions, these corporations would absolutely use child labor. They wouldn't think twice about it. That is the importance of labor unions and government restrictions on business. If not, you cannot trust them left to their own devices. You cannot trust the corporations to do the right thing. They will always do what makes them the most money. Always. 100% of the time.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually, so that's piggybacking off of what we were talking about last week. But also, I immediately started thinking, like, what's up with that family? I think that's okay. I understand that I don't understand what it's like.
Times are tough, I get it, but can they be that tough? Like, figure something
where
else out.
You send your 12-year-old to work in the factory? Like, weren't we just making a joke? I don't know. I could have been talking about this with somebody at work, but there's a very, very, and there's probably more, but there's a very famous picture of, like, a kid way back in, like, the 1890s, 1870s, something like that. I believe he was 10, had a pipe, and it was just covered in smut and because he was working in the goddamn coal mines. And
I bet I can.
And he was 10. So again, we ask, what fucking year is it really? Because to allow this to happen, to me, spells systemic failure, not only in society, but the family nucleus too, right?
This is going to blow your mind. Hold on.
Yeah, a 10-year-old down with, canaries and bird cages to make sure that there's no toxic fumes that they can die of. Again, it's one thing that you're a man going down and doing the job, or a woman going down and doing the job, but then to send a child, even though they, that was probably midlife as far as life expectancy goes back then, you at least made it a quarter of the way. But yeah, maybe working in a coal mine at 10 years old probably did something to you there. There you go.
Hey-o.
Doesn't that look like the joy of childhood? Can't you just see the light of life beaming through that child's eyes?
So disgusting.
Look at that. He's like, it's terrible, right? But here we are, thanks to Alabama. And I'm sure probably not, I'm sure this goes on in a lot of places, right? If it's going on in Alabama, it's going on elsewhere, right?
And and as Courtney points out in the chat room, this is another thing. Leave it up to the states, right? If you leave it up to the states, the state of Alabama is going to be like, yeah, you know what, we're okay with child labor. And what are we going to do about it? Nothing. Because if we give it back to the states, if we let the states do what they want,
No, we've already seen the levels of idiocy at the state level, but yeah, for sure. And in a selfish way, I don't want those people coming here. I don't want them coming to Illinois or wherever I happen to be as the last bastion of not having to have my kid work. and flooding my system. Well, sorry, but I'm being selfish. Get your shit together, Alabama. Where's Jesus at this moment? Because Jesus didn't specifically mention child labor in any one of his speeches, but even though that same theory applies to homosexuality, he never mentioned it. That there again, like, what are you doing, Alabama?
Right. You're picking and choosing what ridiculous moral standards we each have, and we're going to then make rules for everyone based on those weird moral standards.
Yeah, some space theories.
Based on a fucking book that was written 300 years after the man that it was written about death.
And in the hands of some scrupulous, let's just say at best, individuals in the preceding 1700 years.
Right.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on, shall we? As we quest for the answer. What fucking year is it, really?
Mm-hmm.
Kmart halts use of an in-store facial recognition amid Australian privacy investigation.
Yeah, what year is it? Kmart's are still open?
I was going to say, they kind of buried the lead here with all this boobly book about the artificial intelligence and face recognition. There's still a Kmart?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
We got to go. I miss Kmart. That was my store. I know some people are fond of Venture. Some people have Zare. Some of you younger folks might be Walmart people, but like that was, Target, of course, took the place of all of these stores. But boy,
but Kmart was the first.
Man,
Kmart was the first, and then Walmart and Target. In the town of McHenry where I grew up, we had a Walmart first, and then across the street from there, a Walmart opened. And then across the street, and then on another corner, it was Target. Yeah, Blue Light Special.
Oh yeah, the Blue Light Special. So
and Little Caesars. There was always a Little Caesars inside the Kmart as well.
Where I grew up at the old Brooks family home, it was literally a quarter mile away from a Kmart. So you could walk, ride your bike, whatever little shithead Brooks was going to go do. But man, going up there with like $15 of allowance and chore money and being like, okay, how am I going to budget enough to get some Salisbury steak from the cafeteria, to get that G.I. Joe I've been eyeing, I got it in hand, and then to walk out and get a slushie at the end of it. Icy. They did ices. They didn't do slushies. They did ices.
Yes, they definitely had ices. That was another Kmart staple.
Yep. Yeah, the icy, because it was always in the back. You just paid the cashier up front and go and get your cup and then you walk out. But yeah, it was good times being in the Kmart. Kmart was bigger than life at that point. Everything I could get, and you didn't understand what everything was at that point and how convenient it was that you could buy a throw pillow, mouthwash, and a tire all in the same place. That'd be so great. Yeah, but we're all talking. But yeah, facial recognition, Phil, please. That's already happening. Like it's happening right now with our faces on YouTube right now. It's being recorded, analyzed. You get in front of a camera these days, that data is unfortunately no longer in your control. Hi, welcome to 2022. But folks, again, Kmart.
Yeah.
Let's go. Show trip.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it's like the last Blockbuster.
Oh, right.
It has become like a tourist attraction. If you haven't seen that documentary on Netflix, I strongly suggest it.
Good times. Very nostalgic.
Shop smart. Shop smart.
Love it. I love this drink. And Ben, you brought this one.
This was one I saw right before the show started, and I thought this was hilarious. High profile pastor was robbed during a live streamed service in New York City. Gunman burst into a church as its pastor was live streaming a service in Brooklyn on Sunday, making off with more than $1 million worth of jewelry from him and his wife, according to the New York Police Department. So when I read that, I was like, what the hell is a pastor and his wife doing with $1 million worth of jewelry, right? You're not the only one that thought that, because when you see later on in the story here, the people writing this story ask that question too. But real quick, the pastor himself, who became famous in May when he mediated the surrender of the New York City subway shooting suspect, Andrew Abdullah. At the time, Whitehead said he was connected to the suspect's family through his church, but it was the pastor's ostentatious appearance wearing a Fendi suit jacket as he stepped out of a Rolls Royce at a legal aid office that drew the most of attention. Some of that criticism renewed after the robbery as people questioned whether the church leader should be living in luxury. Whitehead acknowledged the high value of the stolen jewelry, saying the men had likely watched his sermons to scout their target. But he added, those are just merely material things. Quote, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, why are you so flashy? He said. It's not about me being flashy, he added. It's about me purchasing what I want to purchase. It's my prerogative to purchase what I want to purchase. If I worked hard for it, I could purchase what I want to purchase. All those things are true, Mr. Pastor. However, you're a pastor. You didn't earn $1 of if any of that wealth came from the church, which it likely did. You didn't earn shit. And the fact that you're spending church dollars on millions of dollars worth of jewelry. It's like those pastors that there's a Twitter account that follows pastors talking about the expensive shoes that they wear.
Yeah, Gigi just mentioned it in the chat room. Preachers and sneakers.
Yes. This reminded me of the same thing. These false prophets that are obviously monetizing the faith to their advantage are just, I'm so glad Preachers with Sneakers exists. I'm so glad that stories like this are written where they don't avoid the elephant in the room, which is, what the fuck are you doing with $1 million worth of jewelry, Mr. Pastor?
According to the church's website, Whitehead is also active in business as well as the ministry, owning mortgage and real estate companies.
Do you think those mortgage and real estate companies maybe benefit from the fact that he has a very large congregation of people? Do you think that maybe the two things are intrinsically intertwined with each other? If he wasn't selling to any of his congregation, okay, maybe. But you know goddamn well, 90% of his congregation got their mortgage from his company.
Right. And I can tell you from working in that industry, it's not legal for you to be like the lender and the real estate broker at the same time. However, there are plenty of ways to get around that with different family members or different associates owning the other separate entities, and then having exclusive deals where you might make it seem like you're passing on savings to somebody else, but all that means is that they're hiding numbers, especially if they get a title insurance company involved then too. Now you're talking about the title insurance company squeezing in their money. It's not look, if you find comfort in religion, great. Me personally, I can say I was never blessed with the gift of faith. It never made sense to me. And the more I grew up, the more I accumulated knowledge of the world. None of it started to make any sense. And I feel I'm not telling anybody that something new. Like, I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. But like to monetize this man's a con man. 100%, right? This guy doesn't have any good motives in preaching, I'm sure.
No, it is 100% for his personal advantage.
Right. So power, politics, attention, all of that, right? And some money on the side, I'm sure. Because I'm sure the church, because again, no taxes there, right? The church also becomes a really interesting way to funnel money around, as we might find out. It's a lot of dirty stuff going on in Missouri right now, as far as super PACs, and churches and dark money and stuff, and that's going to be a big story.
Yeah, Joshua Bowerstein that's going to be interesting to what happens there, because he is openly being defiant to the government about the intersection of religion and politics. He has basically dared the government to do something to his church about their tax exemption because he is openly promoting particular politicians during church service.
Sure, and I'm sure these particular politicians fall in line with some of the folks that were just taking a tour of Congress on January 6th of 2021 too, because we've seen a radicalization of the evangelical side of Christianity and it bleeding over into other obviously forms of Christianity. But let's focus on what the real problem is, right? Is the radicalization of the evangelicals. So if you follow a preacher that in my opinion, doesn't have a direct connection with any of the larger, let's just say the Vatican, but like isn't recognized as like the first Episcopal church of this and that. And it's just like his word chapel, right? Or like our belief church.
If you go to a mega church, what is described as a mega church, then you are being duped by a con man. Churches are not meant to be, nor should they be, massive billion-dollar buildings,
TV studios
with full TV studios and all kinds of not unnecessary things. It should be a very simple building with a small congregation of people that are there for the right reasons, right? It's just the mega churches is where the problem truly lies. That's how these guys get super rich.
Well,
it's how the Joel Osteens get rich.
And this was permissible because of the rot inside the Catholic Church at the Vatican. As we don't have to go too far, and Chris brings it up. But yeah, like just today, the Pope was in Canada apologizing for the atrocities, the murder of Indigenous people up there, and their silencing of these atrocities. And the Pope's on one knee, kissing the hand of the tribal leaders. But then the Pope takes a picture with an Indian headdress on. And I said to myself, Pope, if you were really sorry and really felt contrite for your organization's historical role, and not only the slaughter of these Indigenous people, but the abuse of young boys for millennia, maybe not putting on the Indian headdress and being overly humble to the point of, look, that's just not a good look. I don't want to make it seem like I'm mocking anything. I deserve this honor. I have not done anything, nor has my organization done anything to deserve this honor. So please don't put the headdress on the awkward white guy. It doesn't fit properly. It's like loose over his head.
I gotta see that. Hold on.
It's just an awkward photo op for like somebody again who's trying to apologize for the murder of like I think a couple hundred Indigenous people, if not more, as they're finding more and more of these literally mass graves outside of these orphanages and churches.
This is super awkward.
There's not a PR person that says, "Hey, Pope, hey buddy, hey pal, maybe not do that." Like maybe that guy on the Pope's left is going, "Hey, Pope, are you sure this is a good idea?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "This is good."
Look at the Pope's face. Even he knows this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, he's having a fun time. He's apparently got like a really bad knee or hip, so my guess is that he's probably all gooped up on Vicodin or something like that. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know he's in Canada.
He doesn't know
he's in Spain for all he knows.
That is the worst Coachella outfit.
Well, if he cared, then he would disband the Vatican and release all those lovely secrets that they keep down in the vaults down there, and give me, Michael Brooks, personal access to the Jesuits and their library. That's all I ask. I want to sit down and ask the Jesuits some real heavy-hitting questions, and I won't say a word, but they'd probably kill me afterwards anyway. But it might be worth it just to find out.
Yes. Speaking of people monetizing fucking tragedies and horrible shit, right?
Check this out, and yeah, for all you folks that out there like saying, and I know probably not on this show, but share with your friends and relatives, because this is the kind of stuff we want to argue with when any kind of holiday approaches. for that wonderful conversation at the dinner table. Yes, indeed, civilians can get their hands on military hardware, as evidenced by the company Sig Sauer now openly selling the Army's brand new rifle. First of all, there are several things to unpack here, right? Besides the fact that, yes, that is the military's new standard issue rifle. They have several modifications that can make it special forces, but one of the standard modifications is what they call a suppressor. You and I might call that a silencer. You're telling me you're selling an automatic rifle. Now, I believe this does the 3 burst, which anybody in the military, anybody who's shot these guns will tell you, the continuous stream of that is a waste of ammo, but 3-shot bursts, highly accurate. You're limited to those 3 bursts so you can reset and re-aim. And now you're going to throw a silencer on top of this capability? Okay, cool.
Now watch. Now look at that price tag, Brooks. $8,000.
Sure.
For that, right?
Yeah.
Now wait till the next 18-year-old kid buys one of those and shoots up someplace, and ask yourself, where the fuck did an 18-year-old kid get $8,000 for a rifle? Well, I don't know what an AR-15 costs, but it's not much cheaper, if I'm not mistaken, than something like this. I mean, it's still a multi-$1,000 gun, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, it is. And what these companies aren't telling you is that they offer financing.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
That's how Udvale Killer got at least one of his guns, is that he was able to finance it, get a loan through the manufacturer for the weapon. Jesus. So that's how you can say, like, how does an 18-year-old have $8,000? Not the average one, and certainly not these guys who are shooting up schools and movie theaters and stuff like that, right?
I'm telling you, this is where it goes back to, if you ban these weapons, right? If you tell the manufacturer you are not allowed to make these weapons anymore, you cut it off at the source. You create a black market for these weapons, yes. And criminals will still find guns. However, this $8,000 gun at the store, at the gun dealer right now, if they stop production of these things and you have to go to the black market for one, it would probably cost 4 times that.
Easy. And the inherent risks of going to the black market, right?
And finding the black market.
Yes. Paying somebody to get you right. Yeah. It's not just you can go blackmarket.com. Like, it's finding somebody, probably paying somebody to introduce you to somebody, and then probably waiting a long time for them to feel comfortable that this brand new white kid with the weird fucking haircut wants this gun. Is he a cop? Is he a Fed? Should we kill him? Because he already met Fernando, right? And I just threw Fran out. It could be Peter.
It could be Peter of the bike gang,
right?
That's running
bicycle gang. But we're not discriminating against anybody or any mode of transportation here on the show. But this thing can literally use NATO caliber ammunition. Like the stuff that they're sending out to Ukraine right now, the stuff that they use to arm some of the most advanced military in the world. Again, folks, available. You and I, we could do a GoFundMe for the show and raise this money and buy this weapon that has one purpose. One. Right. That's just the slaughter of people. That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Kill people as efficiently and as quickly as possible.
Accurately. Right? So you don't use up any of those precious 30 rounds in that chamber.
You know, and I didn't see it in the list of stories, but this seems like a decent point to point out that yes, every once in a while, a good story of a quote unquote good Samaritan comes out, and we did have one recently in the last week or so. In Indiana, guy starts shooting at a mall, and an armed civilian stopped the shooting fairly quickly, within less than a minute, I think it was, of the shooting starting. And you got to give credit where it's due. Like, that's awesome. That guy is a true hero. But if you're going to ask me, do I believe every person who is openly carrying in public in that situation is going to respond as well as that guy did. Because that guy, if I'm not mistaken, that kid was pretty well trained. And most people, and we know like in places like Texas, you don't even have to have training.
You don't have to have a
carry.
license. You don't have to.
You don't have to have a license, nothing. To openly carry wherever you want. Is he going to be? Are they going to be as together with their faculties as this kid was? I don't believe 90% of the people with open carry that are openly carrying are going to have the poise, the training, and the accuracy that this kid did. I think this kid is an exception to what we've seen, which is when an active shooting situation is ongoing. There are very few people around with open care with guns to try to stop it, and we've also seen where people try to get involved and try to be the hero, and they end up killing innocent bystanders because they're not very accurate with their shooting.
Well, Ben, I have it on really good authority. I have a source. Let's just call him W. My source W says that this good guy with a gun was a false flag for the NRA to enhance the narrative of the good guy with a gun, so everybody buys more guns. I have it on really good authority again from my source W. I had a W drip, and he told me that this was, you gotta watch out for the false flag on this one, Ben.
So his take on this is that the original shooter was a staged thing, and that this hero was also staged, and this was all set up to make this kid look like a hero so that the good guy with the gun narrative could be perpetuated.
Again, my sources tell me that they were crisis actors. They've been seen on several other crises, shall we say? And again, I'm just saying, like, Ben, do your research, Ben. Like, you gotta look at both sides of this before you make a decision, Ben.
Ultimately, they fall on my side of the argument here, right? Because I'm fairly anti-gun, although I've come around a little bit on it. That said, I have never, and The Rock means never, got on board with this crisis actor nonsense. It is, of all the conspiracy theory ridiculousness that is out there, I honestly think that the crisis actor thing is top 2, no less than top 3 dumbest shit that you could possibly believe.
Especially when, like, it's verifiable and provable. You just have to go and look at a yearbook and okay, they were actually there in school. Like, they grew up there. There's a family, there's a record. However, it's really interesting to note that our good friend of the show, Vladimir Putin, every time he does these photo ops where he's surrounded by regular Russians, there's always 2 of the same dude. Like, the same 2 dudes are dressed as orderlies at a hospital, are dressed as hunters with him on a hunting trip. Like, all right, so that's where the crisis actor staged thing. Like, and to be honest with you, going way back, set your way back machine, ladies and gentlemen, to the very famous photo of then president of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, meeting President Ronald Reagan in Red Square, surrounded by a couple of regular Russian families. Yeah, guess who was the father of one of these regular Russian families? Vladimir Putin, then KGB agent extraordinaire, Vladimir Putin. So they learned well. Oh yeah. I mean, guess we can look it up really quick. But yeah, just
Oh, look. Oh shit.
There's no shortage of this pattern of behavior. So and anybody who accuses the other side of this stuff as brazenly as some of our friends on the other side of the aisle do, yeah.
Look at this. That's this right here. This guy right here. Oops. Sorry. That's Vladimir Putin.
It sure does look like a younger Vladimir Putin. That's for sure. Now, I mean, we can have ourselves our own conspiracy theory about this too. But again, right over Reagan's left shoulder's Mikhail Gorbachev. Then again, big deal because he's the one that brought down the wall and ushered in the USSR, the Soviet Union, into what I guess was like a perestroika. And then the dissolving of the USSR, the Soviet Union, into the separate states, which now Vladimir Putin is trying to recollect kilometers at a time, apparently.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is something that I had recently found out about, which was that Gorbachev, when they do away with communism, they then have this thing where they kind of turn it over to like a lottery system, where you have to enter a lottery for the ability to purchase what was formerly state-run businesses to turn them into private businesses. But what they found out quickly was that it was very corrupt, and the lottery was totally corrupt, and you had to know somebody to win that lottery to get one of those, and that's why they have an oligarchy.
Those winners were pre-chosen, KGB friendly, like you've got the money. And again, the myth was when Vladimir Putin made the ascendancy to the presidency, he collected all these guys together and he just said two things.
An example of one of them.
Well, yeah, he killed one, and then all the rest kind of met in Moscow or wherever in Sochi, wherever his little compound is. And he basically said one thing: I want half. And they're all looking around like, of our profits? No. Everything. You will set up multiple dummy companies. You will funnel money to these Swiss bank accounts. Again, before the internet age, like the Swiss bank account being like just the most ultimate private banking thing. They would never give that up. And still to this day, don't give that up. That's how he became the richest man in the world. In Russia, a lottery beats you. It's the truth. It's true.
By the way, I was remiss if we talked about Russia.
Well, this seems like a good time to transition into. We're going to skip ahead a little bit, Ben, into first of our little bit of a Russia story here, and to further cement their place in the Mount Rushmore of dickheadedness in our current times. Gazprom, which is the national gas company and natural gas company, is cutting supplies of natural gas to the EU by at least 20%. Now, this is in addition to this gas line already operating at 40% of normal capacity. And it has taken several weeks off, thanks to what the Russians have called maintenance. And this was the threat and recognized a long time ago, especially in the run-up to the Ukraine situation, which, again, the 3-day special military operation, now 6 months in, this was the threat that Russia was levying against the EU and other countries in that general area, is their reliance on Russian energy, specifically gas. And a lot of countries have actually already been completely cut off. These countries, Bulgaria, Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, and Poland, because they refuse to pay the Kremlin in rubles. And they prefer to operate with dollars or euros. That's because all of the sanctions. And if you can kind of see, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we love maps here. We love maps here. Maps. I have maps, Ben. This is former governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. I have maps, Ben. I'm here to take down the New World Order, Ben. I'm talking about Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Again, I'm doing a James and Domian impersonation. We should watch that actually someday. We don't get kicked off the air for watching some James and Domian. But this is the gas line that we're talking about, and how it kind of feeds Europe. I guess some. I believe close to almost 50% of European nations receive Russian natural gas, which is insane when you start to think about it. With winter rolling around, they know exactly what they're doing. And this reduction in product coincides with all of these other European countries basically saying we're gonna stock up. We're gonna fill our strategic reserves. We're gonna fill up our tanks and make sure we can kind of survive this winter best we can. So now Russia's basically making that impossible by dialing down how much they're shipping to just basically day-to-day operational levels with nothing to spare, nothing to kind of put into reserve. Let's not stop there, shall we? Because that might be very serious. But Russia tends to do the serious and the silly at the same time, like sweet and savory. Russia, Terry Boers, Terry Boers, bless his heart, a national treasure to anybody who's a sports fan here in Chicago. Love the Isle of Man. Russia has put the Isle of Man on its list of unfriendly states. That's literally the name. Like we have in the United States that the State Department will list you as a terrorist state.
Right.
Russia calls you an unfriendly state, which is
somehow that feels worse.
It's very mobby, very mobbish, like organized crime. Like, you're being very unfriendly to me, Ben.
You're being very unfriendly. I don't know. Somehow, like, it feels like it feels worse than being called a terrorist. You're unfriendly.
You're unfriendly. The Manx government mirrored penalties introduced by the UK and EU following the invasion of Ukraine in February. In response, the Kremlin has added the island to its list, meaning it could face retaliatory measures. A Manx government spokesperson said the evidence the sanctions were working was beginning to be felt by Moscow. We are now only relatively small in global terms, but as we have said, we have added our voice to the many who have condemned Russia's government's actions. The Isle of Man, along with the fellow crown dependency Guernsey, was added to the list of more than 50 nations or territories for supporting sanctions against Russia. Earlier this year, Russian-owned assets on the island were frozen. So that's the thing. That's all the yachts. They were parking yachts there, apparently, in aircraft. And right before the sanctions hit, they skedoodled. So that's just the Isle of Man just being cool, man.
Cool, man.
So, folks, I want to introduce you to my brand new favorite stand-up comedian. Oh, actually, we're going to skip that. I'll bring that back because there's not enough talk about the James Webb, and we'll get back to that. But in the sake of time, because I wanted to surprise Ben with something too. I got 2 minutes and 16 seconds of some of the best stand-up comedy you're ever going to see in your entire life.
I have not met.
And I just wanted to share that with you folks because there's a real zinger at the end, an undeniable punchline to maybe not only the 2 minutes and 16 seconds, but maybe the last 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite new comedian.
Now, that means 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet is really low when you're in a big monster plane, right? 1,000 feet. Sounds high, it's not. So it goes 1,000, 900, 800, 700, 600,
Dog.
500. I said, Captain.
Person.
See it, Captain.
Camera. TV.
No problem, sir. I said, all right. I told my wife how brave I was. Sort of like Lion Brian. Remember Lion Brian? He said he was brave, but the difference is he wasn't even shot at. How's his career going? I don't think.
Who's he talking about?
I think that guy from Georgia, Brian Kemp.
So 500 feet, I don't see anything. 400.
That might be David Kemp. I'm not sure.
300, 200. I say, Captain, there's no runway out there. I'm telling you, Captain. They got very good.
Brian Williams.
Not like they used to be, but what is, right? He said, Captain, what the hell is going on here, Captain? No problem, sir. 100. Now we're 100 feet. That's like, I'll tell you what that's like. It's like, that's about 50. So we got a little double. That's very low. And the captain said, okay, sir, we're ready to land. I say, hey, Captain, you want to pull up, Captain? And bottom line, boom, 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 perfect landing. We landed. I say, oh, the little pin lights, tiny, you can't even see him. He hit him dead on. These guys are the most.
You couldn't because you're fucking cracked out on Adderall.
He said, "How did I do, Captain? Wasn't I brave? I didn't think you were gonna
This is just rambling nonsense. None of this is true.
In fact, as president, I wanted to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor, but they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me do it. I said, I'm going to give myself the. I've always wanted that.
That pause it right there,
They wouldn't let me do that. They said that would be inappropriate. I said, okay.
folks. When he says that, he's not joking. He's not saying that for entertainment purposes. You truly have to understand what a malignant narcissist does. They tell you everything that they're thinking in what they say. You just have to believe them. Now, that's pretty far-fetched, right? Right? They wanted to imagine Obama.
I think most of the story, obviously he is the king of hyperbole, right? So the beginning part of that story with, they got all the way down to 100 feet above the ground, and he was having a conversation with the pilot. Do you understand that when a plane is landing, the last 100 feet happen within nanoseconds? There's not conversations being had with the captain of the fucking plane at 100 feet above the runway. That's not happening. That shit is hyperbole. But I do believe that he 100% ran the idea of, hey, can I give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor? I promise he brought that up. Okay. It may not have been in this context, but he brought it up.
Oh, it isn't
serious.
Oh, yeah, not in the context of this story, but yeah, like, and let's be honest, he's not flying commercial as the president, so he's flying Air Force One, right? Which I'm sure there are rules and regulations, and I'll guarantee that one of those things is nobody's really in the cockpit,
right? And he's definitely. And the president isn't having fucking conversations with the pilot and captain of the fucking airplane while he's attempting to land Air Force One. The idea that is happening, like it almost like he wants you to believe like he was sitting next to the pilot and like the co-pilot.
He was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in airplane.
Yeah. There's no way that story is accurate in any way, shape, or form. But at the end, I still do believe that he did ask about giving himself the congressional medal.
Look, kid, you drag Walton and Lanier up to court for 48 minutes to see how you do. But yeah, for real, that and like you were saying, Ben, this is all a lie up until the point of him saying he wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor. And if you didn't think he was being honest and truthful in saying that, he tells you again in the same sitting. We've got another minute left. He tells you again how outlandish his thought process is in terms of his own grandiose.
He doubles down on the story, which is incredible. Check this out.
Okay. But what happened is we landed. It was an.
Oh yeah, it may have caught, but like he.
I wanted to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor, but they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me do it. I said, I'm going to give myself the. I've always wanted that. But they wouldn't let me do that. They said that would be inappropriate. I said, okay.
Yeah,
he did go on to say, like, I wanted to give myself a Purple Heart too. Like you.
Oh.
Yeah, like you dodged the draft. You bone spurs, like you, but you wanted a Purple Heart. It's awarded to somebody who's injured in combat. Period.
And it speaks to the whole reason that he ran for president and embraced it was for the privileges and the things that come along with being the president. Right? He that's what was attractive about it. It wasn't service to the community, to the public, to the American people. It was access. Exactly. It was access to money that could be put in his company's pockets, in his pockets, in his children's pockets, and his buddies.
Like a whole microeconomy, the MAGA microeconomy.
Right. Sir, they're not Boy Scout merit badges.
For real.
They just don't handle motherfuckers out.
Yeah, but he did to himself.
Yeah, surprised he didn't invent an award for himself, the Grandmaster Dragon Best President ever.
And he knows people that can award him that. He doesn't have to make it up. He knows people that can
Right.
give him that, like intimately. Let's skip. Let's just go right to that last one because Ben, I do want to hit you with a surprise big. I don't know how long it's going to go, but I have a question I want to ask you about a situation. So I want to show
Okay,
this. I want to show this one video because I like to kind of bring spirits up after we have a long and sometimes tense conversation, and I can't get enough of elephants. I don't know if you got.
Oh boy, my wife downstairs is gonna freak out.
This
She
is
loves them.
awesome.
Oh, baby elephants too.
Yep.
What?
I like how he cradled it. Look how he cradled that stupid human.
Stupid human.
What are you doing?
Hey, stupid human, get out of the water.
Right. That was already headed towards the bank, so a cynic would be like, it was probably going to be okay anyway. But look how he like hovered over the human to make sure the stupid human was okay. That baby elephant was like, I got you, Sam.
My wife is definitely crying downstairs.
And like all the other elephants looking in the background, oh, Kenny,
stupid baby.
Kenny,
That stupid baby elephant. They know better. Like the adult elephants are like, let the stupid human die.
just go. There's too many of them.
Look at you and then he got back to his parents, and the parent elephants were like, "You dumb asshole! You almost killed yourself for that stupid human."
You have a really good heart, and we really love you for the person and the elephant that you are. But don't ever do that over a stupid human again. Ever.
We appreciate your thoughts.
Yes.
But don't ever
Right
do that
place.
again.
You have a good heart, just not with the humans, because just 50 kilometers the other way, they're tearing down our rainforest, and we've got nowhere left to live. So fuck those bipeds.
Unbelievable.
Well, all right. So
All right.
I teased a little bit of a big, and I've been sitting on this for all day because I wanted to have a very direct conversation with you, Ben Jordan, because now you're my last real connection now to the wrestling world. It was big news these last couple of days, right, Ben Jordan? Not only with the ouster of Vincent Kennedy McMahon as CEO of the company that he stole from his father and then raided every other territory known to God to build his now WWE empire, having basically asked nicely to step away.
Yeah, he's retired. Well, he's retiring. What do you mean, Brooks? He's doing it on his own volition.
So did you see that the WWE actually refiled financial statements with the FEC today to
account for the $12 million in company money that he used to silence women that he had sexual relationships with?
Pretty cool. But that's not-
the man was outed as a obvious sexual predator.
Oh yeah.
This is confirmation of what we already knew, which was that he was abusing his power as the head of the most powerful company in the professional wrestling business. And the one man that basically controls your destiny as a professional wrestler, as a performer, using that power to get sexual favors from females and then regretting it or not regretting it, or in the case of the women regretting it, paying them to shut them up. One of the women says that she gave him a blowjob, didn't want to do anything more than that, turned him down on multiple occasions after that, was demoted and then fired, and then years later came back and was like, I'm going to come out with this story. And they were like, here's $9 million. Don't.
That's a lot of hush money.
Yeah,
That's
it's
for
$12
one
million
person?
over at least 4 different incidents that they know of, right? But at the same time, the reaction has been odd.
It's a lot of hero worship.
A lot of hero worship. A lot of people that no doubt have personal relationships with Vince McMahon and made a lot of money and were very successful in the wrestling business because of Vince McMahon, tweeting out these Thank you so much for everything you gave me. You're such a wonderful boss. Oh, thank you so much for everything that you did for me, which is all well and good. If he were just retiring at 77 years old, going off into the sunset, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, he's being pushed out for misappropriating company funds to cover up his sexual predatory nature in his company. And these people that know better, these people that when during the Me Too movement and and all of that came out, and a lot of guys in the wrestling business on the indies had their careers destroyed, will never work in the wrestling business again, have been outed, ousted, blackballed, whatever you want to say, and no one comes to their defense. No one says what a wonderful guy they were and how great they treated them. But these same people are happy to go out in public and fawn over a man who has just been outed as a sexual predator. But because it's the wrestling business and everybody already looked at the wrestling business with a side eye anyway, they already look at Vince McMahon with a side eye, knowing that you can't really take him seriously. He's a caricature of a caricature.
Carny as fuck.
Right.
The whole family.
He is ultimately sliding on this whole thing. Meanwhile, WWE's stock is up 13% since he announced that he was leaving. So he's making more money too, because he's also the biggest shareholder.
I have 2 points, because I want to get to the hero worship, because I saw some of that excuse me, on my Twitter feed, which just nauseated me for a couple of different reasons, which I'll get to in a second. But this is not the only time that Vince McMahon has told you who he was.
Right.
If you are looking at this one incident and looking at it in a vacuum, thinking, oh, well, you know what? Okay, all right, he's messed up one time. No, this is not the first time. Just look at how he treats one of his own children. And I mean Shane McMahon. He has basically all but disowned his only son, right? That shouldn't, okay, all right, well, okay, interpersonal relationship, a real bitch, hey, tell me about it. But look at the history of how he's handled other cases and other problems and other people who have had problems under his watch. The problems that he's caused, encouraged, things that he's hidden, covered up. By no stretch of the imagination is Vince McMahon a good person. Good businessman. You will never have. Nobody should ever deny that. The man basically invented pay-per-view, which everybody that holds a pay-per-view should be paying Vince McMahon royalties for that concept. Yeah. Period. Yeah. Closed caption TV took off, pay-per-view took off because of pro wrestling, just like television did, right?
It was, well, yeah, in wrestling in general was one of the very first things to ever be put on television at the invention of television.
It was a necessary thing. It was available content ready-made for television. So yes, it's been around as part of American history, but it does not have to be run by a scumbag. So
yeah,
the reason I called, Ben, is because Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque, was made head of talent and creative, as I understand it.
Yes, both jobs, which up until this point, obviously Vince McMahon was head of creative. He was the buck stopped with him when it came to creative. Also, Bruce Pritchard was named interim when McMahon stepped aside a couple of weeks ago. Bruce Pritchard was head of creative for a minute. So Triple H first was named head of talent relations, which was John Laurinaitis' job, because Laurinaitis is the other guy involved in this. Because not only did they pay to cover up Vince McMahon's inappropriateness with female talent, John Laurinaitis, who was the executive VP of talent relations, also was involved with female talent and had to have hush money from the company paid to cover up his indiscretions there. So yes, Triple H taking on both of those jobs when a couple of months ago, he basically had NXT taken from him, was sidelined, and said, "Just you're good. Go over there for a while."
Not the first
And
time
Bruce-
Vince had done that to him either.
Yeah, and Bruce Pritchard took over NXT, which was Triple H's baby. He gave it to Bruce Pritchard. They completely revamped NXT. They released a bunch of guys that were quote unquote Triple H guys, because Triple H was very into the indie guys, where Bruce Pritchard was not, and wanted to just kind of create their own stars from football guys and wrestlers and guys that they could groom to be WWE superstars that didn't have the indie stink, if you will, on. So it is very interesting that he's taking on both of those jobs, because they're massive jobs. Both, I mean, two different men did them before. So the fact that he's taking that on is quite interesting, because that's a huge workload for a guy who had health problems, where he had to step away from the ring. He just recently revealed the man had serious heart issues just a few months ago.
As a pacemaker.
And will never rise again. Yeah, as a pacemaker. So he's pushing himself pretty hard, and it'd be interesting to see how long he's able to do both jobs. I can't imagine he is going to do both those jobs long term, because it is a grind.
Oh yeah, no.
Both.
Either you are the de facto head of talent relations. I think honestly, I think creative. Look, I'm a Triple H fan. He's like my second favorite wrestler ever, maybe third if you put Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. But like I'm a Triple H mark, always have been. I was telling Gigi this from the first day we saw Terra Rising at a WCW house show. Me and my pals were like, that dude's gonna be a fucking star. And he shows up on Raw or whatever, Saturday night, blah blah blah, as Hunter Hearst Helmsley and the beer and wrestles Phineas Godwin in a slot match, and we were like, this is great. And just to see this, my guy, right? I'm excited about it, because I think he's one of the last ones that can reach back and maybe he didn't work all of the territories, that he wasn't that old yet.
But he knew what that meant and what that kind of wrestling was.
And he grew up in a time where like you had to pay your dues, right? You just had to. There were enough vets left in the business from the old days that weren't going to push you right to the top of the indie card just because you look good, or they wanted to make sure you were ready and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. I'm excited to have Triple H in control of creative. Not that I know anything about the current rosters or anybody other than maybe the famous names. I really don't. I've stepped away a long time. But this gives me, and I texted you this in the group chat with Lockport Joe today, I would sit down and watch some Triple H Raws. Now, my question to you, Ben, is my hope as a person who does enjoy professional wrestling, is my hope unfounded in this? Is this something that could recapture? I'm not looking for the Raw's War Games. I'm looking for the Attitude Era, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting, because I had a conversation today with my co-host on the Nameless Retro Wrestling Show, Michael V, in our little private chat, where my initial thought was not much is going to change, because why change anything? Why rock the boat? WWE is making more money year over year, every year. The amount of money that they're making right now is insane. And the TV rights and the streaming rights are coming up due this next year. The Hulu deal, the Peacock deal, all of those things are coming up for renewal. And there's going to make more money on those deals. The price of that is going to go up. Sure. It's not going to go down. Right. The brand itself, the WWE brand, is at a point now where they can do almost anything and it won't really change much. That was my initial thought. But Michael gave me some pushback on that. And he raised some good points to me, which were, because the company is so stable, he can take some risks. He can do some different things. One of the things he's already doing is he replaced Bruce Pritchard as head of creative, right? The next thing he's going to do, rumored, is to get rid of Kevin Dunn, which is the executive producer of Monday Night Raw, and has been since the beginning. Yeah. there is almost no longer tenured company man other than Vince McMahon than Kevin Dunn. And Kevin Dunn is very much the reason the way that Raw show and SmackDown is shot the way it's shot and the way that it's laid out
Pro
as
wrestling now, the way
it is all Kevin Dunn. That is Kevin Dunn's way of doing things. So if he gets rid of Kevin Dunn and puts somebody new and fresh and says, let's do something different, I can see visually the show being presented slightly different. I can also see him giving the talent a bit more freedom in their promos to go out there and kind of work the crowd rather than what they have now, which is very strict, very rehearsed, line by line written promos. And you can't really veer unless you're Steve Austin or The Rock. You don't veer off the script.
Approved, if not written, handwritten by Vince McMahon.
Right. And again, and keep in mind too that the wrestling, that all of the writing, all of the creative was geared to please a 77-year-old man who is a sexual predator, is a what's the right word I'm looking for? Toxically masculine in the way that he looks at females and treats females on his show. Go back and look. And it was geared towards a guy who also liked dick and fart jokes, right? He's a 77-year-old man, but he has the humor of a 10-year-old boy. And so there's a lot of gimmicks and a lot of goofy stuff that was done to please a goofy, eccentric 77-year-old. And, and there have been plenty of pro wrestlers, ones that you know quite well, as a matter of fact, that have called Vince McMahon out on his own television program, as a matter of fact, with pipe bombs, calling him out for this for years now. And in that sense, he's right that the wrestling business was a sandbox of a 77-year-old man who had people writing for a kid playing in his sandbox, right? And imagine you had a team of writers to get creative for a kid playing with his toys in the sandbox. That is essentially what WWE has been since WCW was bought by WWE.
I was looking at the chat zone and the world's most dangerous chat room, the Thunderdome, and CJ Amino has.
I wanted to get back to the
because and obviously everybody's entitled to their opinion. It is the most dangerous chat zone in the world, so you got to expect these things. But like, I'm going to take a little bit of not offense, but like umbrage with that because, like, either way, and I can see what you're saying, and I can certainly hear that point, but I think either way, whatever had happened, Vince was scared enough to cut a $9 million check.
Because he knew what he was doing was inappropriate.
That and how inappropriate and what it meant to him and his company at that time for again legendary cheapskate Vince McMahon, not paying whenever he can.
It's really hard to have a women's evolution on your television program and talk about how you are all about female empowerment and how you're going to treat women as equals, which they did. And Stephanie was out on television. They had an all women's pay-per-view, and they brought up the 4 horsewomen, and they put the push behind those girls, and they made female wrestling. There was a revolution, an evolution in female wrestling that went from the TNA of the Attitude Era of literally they were just models doing bikini matches and doing
Trish Stratus.
Yeah. But even she was doing a lot of sexually suggestive stuff. She was doing those bikini matches. She was literally kissing Vince McMahon's ass and barking like a dog in the ring. They went from that and they said, we're putting that away. We're better than that now. But at the same time, that's why they were covering it up, because those girls were coming back around saying, you're out here saying you guys are all you're an inclusive company and how female forward you are. But I know how female forward you really are, Vince. I know I've got stories. And they all came back and said, I'm going to tell my story. And they went, that's going to hurt our public image of right now that we're out here telling everybody how female forward we are. We can't have these stories coming out. And they put that, and they paid to make sure that those stories did not come out. The stupidest part of it is, though, is they didn't use his own money. He used company
money.
Well, how dumb did he not have anyone around him that went, Vince, you can't do that. You have to use your own money. Sell some stock, anything. You got to use your own money. You can't use company money.
If he didn't look, we know how long this guy's been making millions, if not billions of dollars with this company, right? If he didn't have $9 million cash somewhere ready for this, you're not doing it right, Vince. You're just not. If you're not liquid by at least $50 million, what the fuck are you doing then as this CEO of a conglomerate? I'm all for, and CJ, I'm all for Vince getting rich.
I don't think this is it's not a pussy scam. I don't, that's where I disagree with you, CJ, is that these women were preyed upon by a man who knew he held great power and influence over these women. And he made suggestions of, if you do this for me, I'll make you a star. What does that make him different than Harvey Weinstein? It's not.
No.
He's a casting couch. It's no different than a casting couch director. You know what I'm saying? The guy is abusing his power. You can't blame the women for falling for a man in power, using that power. The man can literally make or break your career single-handedly,
as we've seen.
If he chooses to.
It sure does make you think about some of the rash firings that have happened and have been dotted throughout the WWE's tenure, especially, going back to the Attitude Era and stuff like that. Because now you have to kind of question all of those things, like who was friendly, who wasn't, who was, working with the boys. I mean, we all know that happens. It just not only I guess back to Vince, not only WWE money, but WWE employees. You can't. I've never. All right. Truth be told, honest moment. I've never paid for sex in my life. I don't know how to go about finding somebody that accepts money for sex. I just wouldn't, right? And I'd be terrified if you're like, oh, just go to Craigslist. It's just not for me, right? I would, in my naivete in this venue, would theorize that $9 million for one sex worker really doesn't make a whole lot of fiscal sense. I could have probably had a whole lot of fun with a whole lot of other ladies for that $9 million. So why was he doing that to a fee? So we're not talking about the sex here, right? It's not the act of sex. It's the exercise of power. It is the exercise of control over another human being and their ability to make a living.
You could say that the women had all the cards in their hand, but they really didn't, because the woman that got the biggest payday, she came back many years after she was demoted, then fired after she turned down Vince for more sex. There was years where she was ostracized from the business, that she didn't feel confident enough to speak up. So she never got another shot. They have not come out and said exactly who it is, but putting the pieces together, you can kind of figure out, because there's a time period. It happened in 2005. This woman was employed in 2005. She was on television, then demoted, then ultimately released. And if you look at the people that were released during that year, the two suspects are Dawn Marie and Jackie Gaeta. Now, both of them, they fit that mold. They were on television, demoted, and then eventually released in 2005. And neither one of them ever were in the wrestling business again after that point.
So I would be inclined, and just we're hypothesizing here. We're just dealing with concepts, right? I would say that if I had to pick one, it'd be Jackie, because I don't think Dawn Marie cared that much about the wrestling. The WWE had to go and get her to come back because she had already been done with ECW for years past that.
Yeah, I think Jackie Gate is probably the most logical candidate to have been this one, but she's just one of 4 that were paid off. And to go back to what you said, Vince covers up bad deeds in his company, and has been doing it since the 80s. Remember, he covered up for pedophilia. He covered up for sexual misconduct.
Murder. That's Jimmy Snuka.
He covered up for murder. He covered up a lot of things. Yeah, exactly. One of 4 that we even know of. How many women didn't get a payoff, didn't come back and get a payoff, but just did sexual favors for Vince McMahon and then never got anything out of it and were eventually released? Or how many did sexual favors for Vince McMahon and got pushes and made lots of money and became big stars? And that those people are victims, still victims, even though it worked out for them in a way, quote unquote. There are definitely people you have to believe along the way that benefited surely from having sexual intercourse with Vince McMahon.
Well,
which is
I feel like that. Me personally, there's 2 parts to this conversation. I wanted to talk about the Vince McMahon thing. I wanted to talk about the Triple H thing, because I find a lot of hope for just the sport.
It'll be interesting. I hope some stuff changes, because it desperately, in my opinion, needs it. But again, they're not writing and they're not marketing to me and you, right? They're marketing to teenagers and about to be teenagers. That's their niche market. They're advertising to young kids and teenagers.
Yep.
And maybe some in their 20s, up to about 24 years old.
21 to 49 is the right. But neither is the writing of Stranger Things. They're not writing for me. They're writing for the people who, oh, cool, man, look at that, it's the 80s. That what a wild time. Like, no, it wasn't that great. So in that regard, as long as it's good, right? Good pro wrestling is good pro wrestling. And you could be in it for the theatrics, and you could be in it for the characters and all that. But if you just at my point, in my age, if you just give me some good matches, some compelling main event storylines, I could deal with whatever nonsense and flash they want to kind of put onto the show. Right. Wait, did I just say flash? Holy shit, Ben. You know what the time for? Ben, it's time for the lightning round! Yeah! Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, setting sail from the deck of the USS Rapapa, the number 1 segment on this podcast, never seen by my father. It's the lightning round, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. It's the best segment on the show, or at least the most popular. The lightning bolts are showing up in the chat room, the Thunderdome, the world's most dangerous chat room right now. And I don't want to sound like Scott Lysek right now, but yeah, I'm getting a little excited right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know the rules, but just in case you don't, we're going to go through them one more time. I read 3 headlines, 3 stories, enter the Thunderdome. 1 gets read, and because we're a democracy, you, the people of the show, the Thunderdome inhabitants, choose. So, with no further dilly or dally, ladies and gentlemen, headline number 1. Florida man accused of driving to Space Force base in stolen truck to warn of aliens.
Oh, Florida man. He makes multiple appearances here.
Headline number 2. Incorrectly painted lines on street causes confusion in Hollister. And headline number 3. Woman sues man for $10,000 after a bad date and unloads on the judge during the hearing.
Ooh. All right.
I don't think we have a clear-cut winner in this.
I think you did a very good job of not giving us a very clear-cut one, because we've had a couple of weeks now where the winner was obvious, right? But you didn't even finish the headline before we knew.
Yeah, everybody's usually laughing. Hey, they call me Biz. We got we're already on roll.
All right, let's do it one more time.
Yeah, we're going to go through it one more time for you folks still kind of contabulating at home. We're going to do this one more time.
Never underestimate Florida man.
Never underestimate Florida man. And don't spend your money there either. Just saying. Ladies and gentlemen, headline number 1, redo. Florida man accused of driving to Space Force base in a stolen truck to warn of aliens. Headline number 2, incorrectly painted lines on the street causes confusion in Hollister. And headline number 3, woman sues man for $10,000 after a bad date and unloads on the judge during the hearing.
It's the woman unloading on the judge that is the hook
like
on that one. That's how I think
on top of the Sunday.
Yeah, there's 3 early votes for number 3 because you gotta know. Yeah, there's another one for it. So maybe there is an obvious choice here, and I think the hook is wanting to hear this woman go off on the judge.
I thought throwing a Florida man in there would have helped out.
Florida man throws a kind of a curveball, but that's one of those curveballs that you spit on because you know a good pitch is coming later. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll hang out for just a little bit more, and just to remind you guys, we had a personal favorite show, probably our best work, just 2 shows ago, where we interviewed our in-house mental health specialist. Her name's Chrissy, and if you're at all interested in that conversation or any of the shows that you may have missed, because they're all good. Okay, they're all good. All right. Go to YouTube where everything's archived, and you can check out it's about any show. And actually, you could probably chart the progress and the growth of the show if you were to reach back through the some 81 odd shows that we've got on the air right now. So I'm waiting for some more votes, but I think that's going to be it. So, folks,
I think three seems to be taking this one. Florida man is interesting, but not nearly as interesting as this woman suing for $10,000.
I was thinking of a new tournament and going back and kind of grabbing some of the winning stories and maybe doing a new like a tournament of like the lightning round tournament.
I love that. That's just time intensive to go back and.
Again, that's why I archive all of these links. Then
look at you.
I'd have to go back and listen to my silly ass talk, and I can't stand watching or listening to myself. I just can't do it. So, folks, you asked for it, and we provide. Headline number 3: a Michigan woman had her lawsuit transferred out of court after she snapped at a judge for questioning her knowledge of the law when she decided to sue a man for taking her out on a bad date. Quashante Short filed suit against Richard Jordan in 2020, accusing him of intentional infliction of emotional distress caused by the date. Per TMZ, the legal docs allege that Richard intentionally hurt her feelings when he, quote, did not show and left her on her mother's birthday and her mom just had passed away, end quote. Quashante was demanding Jordan pay her $10,000 as a result of this distress. During the pair's 10-minute virtual hearing with Judge Herman Marable Jr. in Flint, Jordan remained relatively quiet aside from speaking on how this case was a waste of the court's time. Judge Marable seemed to agree with him and questioned whether Short was in the proper courtroom to handle the case. She argued that she was and accused Jordan of committing perjury as a result of a misleading statement he put on a document filed to the judge. The judge stopped her and reminded her that perjury can only occur in a courtroom because it's committed under oath, which Short took offense to.
There's video. I've been able to procure video. It's from a newscast, but I have it if you want to see what this woman would.
In the immortal words of one James Brown, hit me.
Let's see. I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Short claims intentional infliction of emotional distress, saying that Richard Jordan hurt her because he did not show up. It happened to be her mother's birthday, and her mother had just passed away. Now, during a recent court appearance on Zoom, Jordan said this was a waste of the court's time and that he's simply being sued because of a bad date.
To be honest with you, sir, I thought this was just going to be thrown out. We had a date, one date, and nothing else.
We had a date.
At as if I do not understand what the word perjury means.
Be quiet while I'm talking. You need to be quiet. Can you mute her, please?
Because perjury is a criminal offense.
Oh my. So, Short has been ordered to pay all fees and expenses for the hearing. The judge ordered the case to be moved to a different court system.
It's really the wildest thing I think I've seen. One of the top 10.
It doesn't have the whole.
The whole quote is, please do not insult my intelligence. Do not do that. Do not insult my intelligence as if I do not understand what the word perjury means. Do not.
She didn't understand what perjury meant.
The narrator, she did not know what perjury meant. If it's a criminal offense, then it's a criminal offense. But you have to know what it means first.
Right.
Use it properly.
Yeah. You're just making shit up as you go, man.
It's like watering your lawn with a fire extinguisher. It's like you're missing the concept here. Like it is somewhere. It's like you're in some parallel world. You're on the right track, but you've completely missed the concept in this one here. But yikes! There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of Topic Thunder brought to you live via Chicago and the great state of Texas. Maybe not so great, but at least there's really good people there, right?
Yeah, some.
And we're the glass half full. Actually, if the glass is half full, then all I got to say about it is that we just need to fill the glass, right? I'm missing some, right? So, hey, thanks for playing. Thanks for joining us on this rousing edition of Topic Thunder. We hope you enjoyed the show. As always, thanks for checking us out on YouTube, on the Twitch. We have some presence on Twitter and Instagram, but our social media manager, I think, is just sitting down on the salary. It's pretty cool, actually. I wish I had that gig. But hey,
wrestling fans, this week the Retro Wrestling Show is reviewing Mid-South Wrestling's WrestleFest from 1985, featuring Jinx the Snake Roberts versus Ted DiBiase before that wrestling.